Welcome to a course we call Introduction to Incoterms and Logistics. In this course, we will firstly acquaint ourselves with a few terminologies that will help us get on board. So as we get to look through this course, we should acquaint ourselves with a certain language of logistics that we must be familiar with. For instance, the terms that we're going to use, like incoterms, which is simply a shortcut for international commercial terms. So this is a standardized term of rules that define the responsibilities that buyers and sellers who engage in international trade must comply with. So we also should understand the term logistics, which is simply the process of planning, implementing, controlling the efficient flow of goods and services and information from the point of origin to the point of consumption. We also acquaint ourselves with terms like supply chain management, which is simply the coordination and management of all activities that are involved in the production, delivery of goods from raw materials to the end user. We're going to look at a freight forwarder, which is a company or individual who organizes, who handles the logistics and transportation of the goods on behalf of the importers and the exporters. Usually these end owners don't do much of the donkey work. They leave it to the professionals who understand the logistics involved. So we also have inventory management, which is simply the process of overseeing and controlling the order, storage, the utilization of the goods and materials to ensure that there is a smooth operation in the flow of the goods and services. We also have customs, which is simply government authority, in our case, ZRA, which will be responsible for regulating, controlling the flow of the goods in and out of the country and enforcing custom laws and regulations. Warehousing simply implies the storage, management of goods in a facility, including the receiving, storing, picking, packing, and shipping of the particular goods. Digitization here will include adoption of the use of digital technologies and processes to improve the efficiency, accuracy, and transportation of the logistic operations. Sustainable logistics is simply the practice of integrating environmental and social considerations into logistics to minimize the negative impact on the environment and society. So this course, Introduction to Incoterms and Logistics, will provide us with a comprehensive overview of the key concepts and practices that relate to international trade. Specifically, for your course, it will focus on Incoterms and logistics. So in Incoterms is simply a vital aspect of international trade contracts, which will define the rights, the responsibilities, and the costs that will be borne by the buyers and sellers. So logistics, on the other hand, is a component that will encompass the entire process of managing the flow of goods from production to consumption. So throughout this course, you need to gain a solid understanding of the different Incoterms and their implications on international trade. So you must also learn about the allocation of costs, risks, and tasks between the buyers and the sellers, and how to interact with the most appropriate Incoterm for specific trade transactions. So additionally, this course will expose you to the significance of Incoterms in facilitating the smooth communication, the reduction of disputes that may arise, and also ensuring clarity in international trade contracts. So this course will also delve into various aspects of logistics, including the modes of transportation, the warehousing, the inventory management, the custom procedures, the supply chain management. You'll also be examined on the role of freight forwarders in managing logistics operations and understanding the importance of an efficient inventory management. And also you need to learn the customs process that is involved in international trade. Furthermore, You need to learn emerging trends such as digitization, sustainable logistics practices that will be discussed in this course to highlight the evolving landscape of logistics in the global marketplace. By the end of this course, you must have a solid foundation in incoterms and also logistics, enabling you to make informed decisions in international trade and understanding the complexities of logistics operations, and also to navigate the global supply chain with efficiency and effectiveness. So, having understood these key terms that I talked about, we're straight away going to look at a few questions with regards to this paper. Let's look at questions that ask us to discuss a few terms. Number one, with regards to this course, we need to explain the importance of inventory management, material handling of an export company, the efficient customer response, free on board, what does it mean? FOB, obviously we heard these terms, CIF, ABC, and what do they each mean? So I will break them down in the way I know them. So when we're dealing with the importance of inventory management, we must understand that this is a very wide topic. I'll break it down with examples that may be appropriate. So let me just give you some notes to BIM and the importance. Of course, these have added in the pamphlets. So the importance of inventory management for businesses are as follows. Number one, inventory management helps to meet customer demands by having the right amount of inventory on hand. Businesses can fulfill customer orders promptly. So effective inventory management will ensure that products are available when the customers need them by reducing the risk of stock out and back orders. So stock out cost is simply a cost that customers experience when they want a particular commodity and it's not there. And so inventory management will ensure that the goods are there when the customers need them. For example, if a retail shop with proper inventory management can ensure that the most popular products are always in stock, preventing customers from turning to their competitors due to unavailability. So inventory management is there to ensure that. Inventory management is also there to minimize costs. So inventory will tie up significant amount of capital for a business. So efficient inventory management will help minimize the holding costs associated with storage, insurance, obsolescence. By optimizing inventory levels, the businesses can reduce carrying costs while still meeting the order. So you and I will agree to say that inventory management is not only about storage, it's only also ensuring that whatever you're keeping is kept for a purpose. So we know in holding stock are costs like insurance, storage. So when you have a proper inventory management, it will give you reorder points, safety, and buffer stocks at which you are able to understand when the stock must be at a certain level for us to order. Too much of stock and too little stock is also a problem. So inventory management is there to minimize the costs. So you're only able to have an optimal number of commodities that are needed at a particular point in time. Are we following? So inventory management.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Okay. Also, inventory management is there to ensure supply chain efficiency. It is also there to ensure supply chain efficiency. What do we mean by supply chain efficiency? So supply chain efficiency simply denotes the impact that efficiency of supply chain has by coordinating the inventory levels with production schedules and supply lead times. The lead time is simply the period between which an order is made and produced. So businesses can streamline the flow of materials by reducing bottlenecks and also ensure timely production and delivery is done. For example, in an e-commerce company that implements effective inventory management, so practices can optimize its order to fulfill the process by ensuring that products are shipped quickly and accurately to their customers. So we've talked about three key important uses of inventory management. Number one, to meet the daily demand of the customers. Number two, to optimize costs by avoiding storage costs. Number three, to ensure efficiency of the supply chain. So this is how this question could be answered, the importance of inventory management. Part B, with examples, explain the material handling for any export company. Explain material handling for any export company. All right. So material handling can be explained as follows. So handling of material refers to the movement, the storage, the control of goods within a company's supply chain. For an export company, efficient material handling is very important for ensuring timely and accurate processing of goods. So here are a few key aspects of material handling for an export company. Number one, receiving and offloading and unloading. So efficient material handling entails handling which involves proper receipt and unloading of incoming shipments. So this includes verifying that the quantities that are received as purported, inspecting for any damages, organizing the goods for storage or for further processing. For example, an export company that has efficiently handled materials will have a dedicated receiving areas, well-trained staff to quickly unload and inspect the incoming shipments and reduce delays by ensuring there's accurate inventory records. And storage and inventory management. They will have proper storage and organization of these goods that are essential to maintain inventory accuracy and also facilitate easy retrieval. This includes allocating appropriate storage space in the warehouses, implementing inventory tracking systems, and also using an effective storage method such as stocking, racking, and binning. For example, if you're dealing with a textile export company that has efficiently handled its materials, it would designate an area for storage for different types of fabrics organized by SKU or product category, enabling quick identification, retrieval, and for order processing. So I hope this is making sense. The third would be,
Yes, it's making sense.
so the third point would be under handling, order picking and packing. So material handling should also include the efficient picking and packing of goods for outbound shipments. So this includes accurately selecting the correct items, packing them securely, and preparing them for shipping. For example, an electronic export company that has streamlined material handling processes will have optimized picking routines, efficient packing sessions, and clear packing instructions to ensure that there's accurate and timely shipment. So these the following ways of handling any export company. So now discuss the concept of efficient customer response and give examples. So what is meant by efficient customer response? So efficient customer response with examples can be was answered as follows. Efficient customer response is simply a business strategy that aims to improve an overall supply chain efficiency by enhancing collaboration and communication between the retailers and the suppliers. So the goal of ECR is mainly to optimize inventory levels and to reduce the cost, and also enhance customer satisfaction using the key aspects of the ECR. So these include, number one, the collaborative planning. So collaborative planning here, retailers and suppliers will collaborate on the demand forecasting and planning to align what inventory levels they have with the demands of the customers. So now this will improve the supply chain visibly by reducing stock out costs and excess production. So by matching what consumers need and what can be produced, they'll make sure that they don't overproduce or they don't underproduce. For instance, a grocery store which is working closely with these suppliers to share sales data. And after given their sales data to know how much they need or how much they sell in a month, it will collaborate with the plans of production so that they can produce assorted goods based on the demand. Then also another key aspect of ECR is efficient replenishment, which focuses on streamlining the replenishment process by adopting what an automated system such as electronic data interchange EDI, which will facilitate faster and more accurate data processing. So the shipment, the tracking, and inventory replenishment can be digitized. So this is another way in which an example could be a clothing retailer who uses electronic communication with the suppliers to place and receive orders, to track the shipments, and also to update inventory levels using a real-time basis, ensuring that there is timely replenishment and to avoid the stockouts. The other two ways in which ECR can be improved would be as follows with examples. So we could have category management. So ECR will also emphasize on category management where the retailers and suppliers will work together to optimize product assortment. So here, they will also ensure that the pricing and promotion is based on the preferences of the customers and the market trends. So this collaborative approach will improve overall product availability and maximize the sales. So an example is a cosmetic retailer who collaborates with the supplier. They will analyze the customer or the market trends. They will see the customer preferences and they'll input sales data to determine the best assortment of the products to each store allocation. There's also efficient promotion and marketing, where the ECR will aim at optimizing promotion activities by aligning them with the customer demand, thereby avoiding excessive discounts or overstocking situations. So this will help reduce and also increase profitability by improving the customer satisfaction. An example would be where a customer electronic retailer will closely work with the supplier to plan the promotion based on the sales data and also customer preferences by ensuring the availability of promotional products and also to avoid stockout costs when there's high demand in those periods, because when you're going to initiate a promotion, people will demand more. So you need to have a sufficient stock to meet the demand. So we're also asked to discuss what free on board means and ABC analysis. So FOB is a commonly used term which most of people in transportation business either abuse or use rightly. So FOB is a term that implies the following. So FOB, which is free on board, is an incoterm that defines the seller's and buyer's responsibility at the point at which the risk of cost can be associated with shipment of goods transfer from the seller to the buyer. FOB is usually an international term that is used particularly when you are shipping goods by sea. Here are the key aspects that FOB has. Number one, who has a responsibility for delivery. So under FOB, the seller is responsible for delivering the goods to the designated point of shipment and loading them into the vessel. Once the goods are loaded, the risk is transferred from the seller to the buyer. So for instance, a manufacturer in China is selling goods FOB from Shanghai. It means the seller now becomes responsible for delivering the goods to the port. After the port, it is you, the buyer, who bears the risk of the goods. So FOB also has a connotation of cost allocation. So it means that FOB implies that the seller will be responsible or all associated costs with delivering the goods to the point of shipment, including transportation, export customs and clearance, and also the loading charges. So the buyer only bears costs at a point and risk at that point onwards. For instance, if you're buying goods worth 10,000, it means that the seller will cover the cost of transportation, export, clearance, and loading up at the port. And now the buyer will be responsible for the costs of shipping, customs clearance, and any subsequent costs that will be included in transportation. FOB also has a connotation of transfer of ownership. So FOB only indicates that the point at which ownership of the goods transfers from the seller is only the goods are loaded into the vessel at the port. Before then, everything is still under the seller's terms. So, for instance, if the buyer wants to become the owner of the goods once they are loaded into the vessel at an agreed point, the buyer is only responsible for insurance after the port. Are we following? Are we together?
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. So that is what FOB is all about. So we go to the other part, which is called ABC analysis. What is meant by ABC analysis in this course? So ABC analysis is simply a method that we use in inventory management to categorize items based on their importance and their value to the business. So it helps us prioritize inventory management efforts and also allocate resources effectively. So the analysis classifies items into three categories, A, B, and C, based on their significance. Here's how it works. Category A is a high value items that contribute to a significant portion of revenue and have a high impact on the customer satisfaction. So typically, they have a lower frequency of demand, but higher value per unit. For instance, in a retail store for luxury goods, high-end electronics might be classified in category A due to their high value and profit margins. B is group B. They are moderate. Their importance is less compared to A, but have moderate frequency of demand per unit, such as clothing, appliances that could be classified in category B, as well as other items that could be of moderate value. And C, we have items that are of low value and significantly compared to A and B, but have a higher marginal frequency of demand at a lower value per unit. So category C, in essence, may have low cost consumables with relatively low profit margins. For instance, we're dealing with stationery that have low cost accessories classified to C, but due to their items being of low value, the sales are usually high. Now, why is ABC important in inventory management? ABC is very important in inventory management for the following reasons. So, number one, ABC will help businesses prioritize their inventory by focusing on the categories of the highest value and seeing how to handle them. So it enables businesses to optimize their stock levels by categorizing the items based on their importance. Also, ABC will also help businesses allocate inventory resources efficiently. Category A means they require closer monitoring and tighter control measures, while C may not require so much, may be flexible. ABC also helps forecast demand. So ABC analysis will give insights into demand patterns of the different categories by understanding the demand that the demand characteristics of each category. So the businesses can improve on forecasting accuracy to ensuring that they provide adequate inventory availability. ABC is also there to implement different inventory strategies. Different categories may also require different inventory management strategies. For instance, category A may benefit from the just-in-time management or vendor management inventory, while C may be suitable for bulk ordering. So it may give us strategies of shipping that may be required for each kind of category. ABC is also there to optimize resource allocation in the sense that it helps us analyze the businesses that allocate resources such as warehouse space, manpower, and financial investment based on the importance of the value of the goods. Overall, I must submit to you that ABC is a good business strategy that will help us focus efforts and resources where it's needed the most by ensuring that it's efficient inventory management and also improve customer service. So that is on this question. Unless there is anything to ask, is it clear? That is how the 20 marks were supposed to be usurped.
Yes, it's clear. It's very clear.
All right.
Mhm.
Question 3.
So you include this paper also in the pamphlet?
Yes, I've already included. Yeah,
Okay.
it's already there in the
Oh,
bank.
okay.
Then we also have question 3, where you're being asked to write.
Sorry, just a question on incoterms before you proceed.
Yes.
So if we asked you to say how can incoterms be incorporated in a contract, what are they looking for?
Okay. That's a very good question that desires very critical analysis. Incoterms can be incorporated in a contract by clearly stating the chosen rule that corresponds to three-letter abbreviations. So, number one, we must identify the incoterm. So, by determining which incoterm rule best suits the intended and conditions, we must also consider factors such as the point of delivery, the division of costs. Also, yeah, there are actually let me say 7 steps that are required for you to determine which incoterm to consider in a contract. So the first one is you need to identify the incoterm. Secondly, you need to use the correct abbreviation. So once you've identified the correct or appropriate incoterm to be used, you must also use the corresponding 3-letter abbreviation. For instance, if you're using A4B, CIF, which is the cost, insurance, and freight. Then also you must clearly specify the place of delivery by stating clearly the named place, the port where the seller's responsibility ends and also the buyer's responsibility begins. You must also define the responsibility by clearly defining the responsibilities of the buyer, the responsibility of the seller with regards to transportation and insurance. Number 5, you also need to provide additional terms and conditions by specifying the incoterm rule. So you need to include any additional terms and conditions that are relevant to a specific transaction. Number 6, you also need to seek legal advice. So in this term, it is advisable that you seek legal advice and consult with a trade professional who is experienced in international trade, contract law, to also ensure that the contract is accurately reflecting the intended terms. And lastly, you must also use a consistent usage. So when you're consistently using the chosen incoterm rule throughout the whole contract, you avoid confusion or conflicts so that you ensure that all references that are dealing with delivery and risk are all aligned with a selected incoterm. So in short, incorporating incoterms into a contract will help us establish number 1, clarity, number 2, consistency, number 3, common understanding between the parties that are involved. So using or incorporating incoterms into a contract will ensure that there are responsibilities, the risks, the costs with international trade are clearly defined, and you also agree upon both the buyer and the seller. And that's how I would advise you move. All right, I hope that's clear.
Yes, but maybe you can just go back on, you had said number 1, clarity, then number 2, consistency. I
Yes.
didn't get the third one.
All right, so number 1, you need to establish clarity. Number 2, consistency. Number 3, common understanding between the parties. So these are key in establishing. So there are 3 C's: clarity, consistency, and common understanding between the parties. Yes.
Okay, that's clear.
All right. So question 3 is asking us to write short notes on the following: scheduling techniques just in time, MRP, MRP, II, and ERP. So what is meant by just in time when we're dealing with scheduling techniques? So just in time, you've heard of that term?
Yes, I've heard of it. I think it means the goods have to be in time. There shouldn't be any delays or something. So you have to deliver within a specified time.
Okay, great.
Something like that.
Yes, very correct. So the term itself explains. So what is meant by just in time is as follows. So just in time, like the term, is simply a scheduling technique that aims to produce and deliver goods and services precisely when they're needed by minimizing inventory and wastage. So the key principles of just in time are as follows. Number 1, demand-driven production. Number 2, lean manufacturing. Number 3, small batch sizes. Number 4, close supply relationships. So demand-driven production here focuses on only producing goods and services based on the customer needs rather than relying on the forecast. So here it promotes a pull-based approach where production is initiated only when there's initial order. You don't produce if there's no order. The lean manufacturing, GIT model simply emphasizes eliminating wastage throughout the production process, including excessive inventory by production, wastage of time, transportation defects. So this one streamlines operations and reduces wastage. So GIT aims to improve efficiency and overall productivity. Small batch sizes. So GIT also encourages smaller production sizes to reduce inventory levels and enable faster response times to changes in consumer or customer needs. So this will allow for greater flexibility and agility in meeting customer requirements. Close supplier relationships. So GIT also relies on close partnerships with suppliers to ensure that there's a timely and high quality deliveries of raw materials or components. So suppliers will be integrated into the production process and often through a just-in-time delivery system to minimize inventory holding costs and also to maintain a smooth flow of materials. A good example we can give in this context would be a car manufacturing company that will adopt a GIT model, will synchronize production system where components are delivered precisely when they are needed on the assembly line and minimizing inventory storage by reducing the risk of excess stock. We also have another model which is called MRP. MRP is a model that is as follows. So MRP, which is material requirements planning, is a planning tool which schedules whose scheduling technique focuses on efficiently managing and planning the materials needed for production. So MRP involves using a software or software systems that calculate the optimal timing quantities of raw materials, components, and sub-assemblies required for production. So the key elements of MRP are: number one, we have what is called the bill of materials. MRP will rely on a detailed bill of materials which will list all the components that are required to produce a finished product. So the BOM will serve as a foundation for MRP calculation. Secondly, inventory management. So MRP will consider the current inventory levels of each component and will calculate the materials needed based on production schedule, thereby taking account of the lead times and also the demand forecast. Then order generation. So MRP will also purchase orders or production orders to replenish the materials based on the calculated requirements. So these orders will be triggered when the inventory levels fall below a specified reorder point. An example would give is a manufacturer who uses MRP will use the software to calculate the quantities, the timing of the component orders based on production schedule, and also ensure that materials are available at the right time to support production without excessive inventory levels. So we also have another scheduling process which we call manufacturing resources planning model, MRPII. So this model works with key features that include the following. So we have the manufacturing resource planning, which is also known as MRPI, which expands on the concept of MRP. Now, MRP has its own flaws. So the adjustment came up with what is called the manufacturing resources planning, which integrates additional aspects of MRP by incorporating capacity planning, production scheduling, and financial considerations into the overall process. So the key features of the MRPII are follows: capacity planning. So MRPII takes into account the available production capacity and resources required for each production order. It also ensures that production schedules are feasible and optimal. In shop floor control, it includes a shop floor control system which will monitor and track the progress of the production orders. So here, it will provide real-time visibility into the status of the work in progress, and also for better coordination, a scheduling adjustment is needed. It also has a financial integration, which the MRP doesn't have, which allows the business to assess the impact of production on costs, the profitability, and also on the cash flow. So this model also will provide insights into financial implications of different production scenarios. So it'll be able to tell us at this point, we'll make a loss, at this point, we'll make a profit. So for instance, if we are producing or manufacturing furniture using this model, it will give us a comprehensive planning system that will also not only consider the materials needed, but will also look at the available capacity of production, such as the resources of labor and the financial implications. This model will also enable the company to optimize production while considering the costs of cost constraints in it. So it is a modified model that factors in financial projections. And lastly, we have what we call ERP, which is Resource Planning Enterprise. Resource Planning Enterprise. So what does the Resource Planning Enterprise imply? And what scheduling technique is involved here? So ERP, which we call Enterprise Resource Planning, also works on a software like the MRPII, and is based on the following assumptions. So it integrates almost all the other factors that we're looking at as follows. Number one is a comprehensive software solution that integrates and manages various business process functionalities of an organization. So it improves the platform and streamlines operations to improve efficiency. So ERP systems will cover areas of finance, human resource, supply chain management, manufacturing, customer relationship, and here are the key aspects. So there's integrated data and processes. So ERP will consolidate data from various departments and functions into a single database. It will also look at the core modules and functionalities. ERP consists of modules and will address different aspects of the business operations. ERP also will standardize the processes and give the best practices available. So it is a newer version that has been adopted by many companies now because it has a humanity aspect in it. ERP also helps in analyzing data and report. ERP will provide a robust reporting system and will generate real-time insights and performance indicators. It also supplies with supply chain management, which include the functionalities for supply chain management and also covers areas such as procurement. ERP also looks at CRM, which is customer relationship management, where it manages customer interactions, sales processes, and marketing campaigns. ERP also looks at the scalability and flexibility of the system. So it is designed to accommodate the needs of the growing organization by offering scalability of how to handle increased transactions in volumes. Lastly, ERP also improves collaboration of communication within the organization by providing a centralized platform for sharing information and documents. It also ensures there's efficiency in costs. While implementing and maintaining ERP, it requires an initial investment and can also result in long-term cost savings. ERP also has regulatory compliance because it helps organizations to comply with the industry regulations and standards. So ERP is another scheduling technique that has been adopted lately. It is, however, expensive. So implementing this requires careful planning, stakeholder involvement, and adequate training because it is a sophisticated scheduling solution that experienced consultants implement. So this is how our question number 3 was supposed to be 100. Are we together?
Yes, yes, we are.
All right. So question number 4, discuss with examples the term incoterms and outline its significance in international trade. And also, what does the letter CIF imply? Okay, so this could perhaps have been the first question that this paper could have had, because it introduces the topic itself. So I'll start with part 1. We want to define what incoterms is, and also we want to outline the significance that it has in international trade. So as was defined, this is how I could answer it. So incoterms is a shortcut for international commercial terms, which are set standardized rules defined by the International Chamber of Commerce, the ICC, that governs the rights, the obligations of the buyers and sellers in international trade. Incoterms define the specific terms and conditions relating to the delivery of goods, the transfer of risks, the allocation of costs between the parties involved in the transaction. So here are a few commonly used incoterms. We have Ex works, where the seller makes the goods available at their premises and the buyer is responsible for them on transportation and costs from that point onwards. FOB, where the seller is responsible for delivering the named goods and services to a named port of shipment, and thereafter bears the cost and risk until they are landed into the vessel. CIF, which is cost, insurance, and freight, where the seller arranges to pay for transportation, insurance to deliver the goods to the named port of destination. However, the risk transfers to the buyer once the goods are on the board vessel. Significance in international trade. So incoterms play a very critical role in international trade by providing standardized framework that helps reduce misunderstandings and disputes between the buyers and sellers. So their significance includes, number 1, clarity and consistency. So incoterms will provide common language and set rules for international trade by ensuring both parties have a clear understanding of their rights and responsibility. This will help avoid confusions and disputes. So international trade will continue on the significance in international trade. So allocation of responsibilities. Incoterms will define specific obligations and responsibilities of the buyers and sellers regarding deliveries, insurance, transportation of goods. So this clarity will allow parties to negotiate and agree on the division of costs and risks. Risk management. Incoterms will establish the point at which the risk or loss or damage to goods will transfer from the seller to the buyer. This will help both parties to manage and mitigate the risk associated with transportation and delivery. Cost allocation. So incoterms also outline who is responsible for specific costs related to transportation, insurance, customs, clearance, and other trade-related expenses. So this will ensure transparency and will help business planning and cost allocation accurately. So you have no one to blame because the laws will be set on who bears what. I hope we are following. And what
Yes.
initial CIF stand for? And what are the advantages and disadvantages of CIF incoterms 2010 board? Okay, so here is how this question is supposed to be answered. So the term CIF stand for cost, insurance, and freight. CIF is an incoterm that places the responsibility on the seller to arrange and pay for the costs of goods transportation to their port destination, insurance coverage until the goods arrive the named port. Advantages of CIF incoterms 2010 for the seller are: number one, the simplified logistics. So the seller will be responsible for arranging transportation insurance, which implies that the logistics process for the seller. So they have control over shipping arrangement and can use their preferred carriers or agents. Number two, reduce risk for the seller, meaning the seller's risk and responsibility ends when the goods are loaded into the vessel. So the buyer will bear the risk of damage, loss during transit, thereby reducing the liability on the seller. Disadvantages. The following are disadvantages for the seller. There is limited control because the seller has limited control over transportation process once the goods are loaded on the vessel. If there are delays or issues regarding transit, it may affect the buyer's perception on the seller's reliability. Potential disputes. So if the buyer encounters any issues with the goods upon arrival, such as damage, discrepancies, they may hold the seller accountable. These disputes are always there, and we must understand that these disputes may never completely end. All right, we continue. So we're saying potential disputes. So if the buyer encounters any issues, these disputes may arise and may compromise the reputation of seller. Advantages include as follows: convenient arrangements. The buyer will benefit from having the seller handle transportation insurance, which implies that the process for the buyer will be simplified. So it thereby reduces the buyer's involvement in the logistics. Reduced financial risk. So the seller is responsible for ensuring that the goods are safely handled also on transit, which is an advantage to the buyer. So this is how this question was supposed to be handled in 10 marks. All right. Are we following? Any questions so far?
Yes, yes.
So lastly, question number 5.
No. Okay.
We're being asked to explain the concept of what? Counter trade, illustrating your answer with the appropriate what? Examples. So counter trade, how do we explain that? So part A was supposed to be answered as follows. So counter trade simply refers to a set of international trade practices where payment for goods and services is made through non-monetary means. So this means that instead of using a traditional currency, counter trade involves exchange of goods and services rather than forms of value as a means of completing the transaction. So counter trade is often used when traditional payment methods such as cash or credit are not what? Feasible or readily available. So counter trade may be employed in various situations, including number one, limited foreign exchange. So counter trade is commonly used when the country has limited access to foreign currency and faces restrictions on currency convertibility by engaging counter trade countries. So countries can overcome the limitation posed by the scarcity of forex So also offsetting trade imbalances, counter trade can help countries to offset imbalances by promoting exchange of goods and services instead of relying mainly on money. So it allows countries with surplus goods to acquire them without exchanging money. Building relationships. Counter trade can also serve as a means of fostering close economic relationship between two countries. So by engaging in reciprocal trade activities, countries can establish trust through long-term partnership that can benefit their economies. Counter trade also may account for market entry. So for businesses seeking to enter new markets, counter trade can be used as a strategy to overcome entry, whereas some governments will require foreign companies to engage with counter trade as a condition for access to their market. So China has worked so much using counter trade to penetrate most African countries. So we don't use money in this context. They want to use what? Um, other companies to operate in their nations. So next question was asking us to outline 5 distinct types of counter trade, detailing the circumstances in which they can be applied. All right. So here is how the second part of the question could and was answered. So it was a long part of the question, but I'll just summarize it in my way possible. All right. So 5 distinct types of counter trade. Number 1, barter system, which involves direct exchange of goods and services between two parties without use of money. Each party will provide products and services of equal value, so we eliminate the use of money. This was used in the traditional times where people, country X, will exchange agricultural products for machinery. Second part of counter trade would be in counter purchase, where a seller will agree to purchase goods and services from a buyer's country on condition that they complete a certain sale. So it involves two-sided transactions where a seller will commit to buying unrelated goods and services in return for a purchase. So country A, for instance, an aircraft manufacturer will agree to sell planes to country B as a part deal, and country A will agree to purchase a certain quantity of agricultural products from country B so that they promote each other's trade. The third is an offset. An offset is similar to a contra entry where counterparts will involve a commitment of a seller to provide economic benefits such as technology transfer, investment, or local content that requires instead of them directly purchasing. So the seller will compensate the buyer with a specific offset arrangement to balance up the trade. For instance, country A defense equipment supplier agrees to sell military vehicles to country X. In return, country A will commit to building or manufacturing facility in country X and transferring technology to support production. Are we following?
Yes.
Okay. So this is how this question was supposed to be answered. So we end here. We've literally finished almost 90% of this paper. This is where the exam ends. The first part is a case study, which I just left out. Not really, it doesn't the case study, it was the other paper. But everything is there in the pamphlet. So this was our 2016 paper. So